Hello history lovers, and welcome to the Henricus Craft Chat. I'm your host Nicole. This week we're doing the craft chat just a little bit differently because Henricus is participating in Museum Week, which gives us a different hashtag challenge for every day of the week, and the hashtag for today is technology. So I thought a great craft to do today would be something that teaches us a little bit about how technology helps us communicate, and thinking about how we communicate now with technology versus how we communicated with technology 400 years ago. So in modern times, especially now that a lot of us are home from school and home from work, we're using the internet to communicate. Instead of writing letters, we're sending emails. 400 years ago, they didn't have the internet. They're going to be writing handwritten letters, and they're going to be using parchment paper and a quill and ink to do that. So this is a great craft that you can do with your kids. You can make a homeschool project out of it, and it not only is creative and fun, but it also teaches them about handwriting and about how to address an envelope, how mail works, maybe even make your own stamps as part of this project. Many people don't write handwritten letters today. I find myself missing them quite a lot, and when I do get one in the mail, it's pretty special. So today I'm going to show you how you can make some parchment paper out of regular printer paper that you might have in your home office. So what I'm going to do is the first thing you'll need is an old baking tin, something that has a little bit of a lip to it so that the paper can sit down in it and stuff doesn't spill over. So I'm going to put 2 pieces of paper in here, just like that. And you can use things to stain the paper like coffee or tea. So what I have right here is some English breakfast tea, English tea time. And this has been steeping for a while. And it's okay if it's messy. I'm just going to get these on my paper here. And see what happens. So I'm just going to pour some of the tea on here. And on the other one, I'm going to try coffee. So I have some coffee grounds that I used this morning and some leftover coffee. You might want to get your parents' permission and help with some of this. So where the grounds are and where the tea bags are, it's going to be a little bit darker in spots, but that's okay because old parchment paper never really looks the same all the way through, right? So on one side I've got my coffee, on the other side I've got my tea. And I'm going to gently let the liquid cover. It's okay if it mixes together. It's okay if you only have coffee or you only have tea. You don't need to use both. So I'm going to let this mix together. Just like that. It looks like a big old mess. And I'm just going to let this sit until it's dry. Now, if you want to and you have your parents' supervision, you can take this sheet, take the tea bags out, and you can put it in the oven on very low temperature and heat it just a little bit and help it dry a little bit faster and help that coffee or tea set down into the paper. But if you don't want to do that, then you can just leave it to sit and wait for it to dry. So how did they get letters back and forth 400 years ago? They would have to, especially if they were in the colony in Virginia and sending letters back home to England, they're going to have to get that letter to someone who takes it on a ship and sends it across the ocean, and that's going to take 6 to 8 weeks to get to their loved one. So it's going to be a really long time between when someone writes the letter and when they receive the letter. So think about what can happen during 8 weeks' time. Many things may have changed that weren't in the letter. Nowadays, we can send an email and it's instantaneous. We can learn about what's happening with our friends and family very quickly as it's happening. So there's the first part of our craft, super fun and messy. I'm gonna set that aside for now, and we're gonna work on the second part, which is the quill pen. So what you'll need for this is some kind of a feather, about this size. It can be a little bit smaller, and some ink, and an X-Acto knife or a pair of craft scissors. It's a little bit easier with an X-Acto knife, but you have to be really careful. So again, parental supervision on this part. All right, so the first thing you have to do is make room for your hand. So when you hold this, you don't want this part to be scrunched up. So we're gonna take our X-Acto knife and just strip away very lightly some of the bottom bits of feather. That feels about right. And you can do a little bit more scraping on the bottom part of your feather, just very lightly to get off any debris. You can even use sandpaper for this part if you prefer. So clean that off really nicely. And then we need to make our cut in the bottom for the point that we're going to write with. So I'm going to follow the natural curve of the feather right here, and that's where my point is going to be. So I know I want my angle to be right here. So I'm going to flip it over and slice it at an angle. Sometimes there's some extra debris in the feather that you want to make sure you get that out too. So now I have an angle there that's cut, and I can cut the very tip off just like that, so it's nice and flat. And then I want to make it a little bit pointier, but I don't want to totally get rid of that flat part. So I'm going to kind of carve. Make sure you're carving away from yourself very gently because it's delicate. And now you want to make a slit down the middle right there into the point so that your ink has a channel to go through. There we go. All right, so let's test it out. I've got my ink here. Just gonna dip the end of my quill into it. See how she writes. Pretty cool. Now it might take a little bit of working with, and if you're not quite sure what shape to cut the nib of your feather into, it's worth it to look up pictures of fountain pen nibs just to get the idea of the shape. You can also use a fountain pen to write these letters and just practice your calligraphy if you would prefer. All right, so while I've got this paper here that I'm waiting on, I've got another piece that I've already finished and let dry, and I'm gonna work on a letter to somebody. Now what you can do with these is start to have pen pals or write a letter to somebody in your family, maybe send a letter to somebody far away. Or you could set up a special mailbox outside of your house for the other kids in your neighborhood and start pen pals that way. And that way you can social distance and also practice your letter writing and find secret ways to communicate or different ways to address the envelopes and use special stamps or maybe even a wax seal. As for mine, I think I'm going to roll it up. These are also great for making treasure maps, by the way. And tie it up with a little ribbon. Instead of using an envelope. There we go. I hope you all enjoyed this week's craft chat, and I hope it inspires you to write your own letters and to try to make your own parchment paper and quill pen. Join me again next week when we talk about one of my favorite subjects, Halloween. And don't forget, if you have any questions, as always, you can drop them in the comments below. And remember to like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more craft chat content and to see what's going on at Henricus Historical Park. We hope to see you all soon, and stay safe, everyone.